You're going to be fired up, ready to make some dials after this interview. Believe me, one of my favorite guests ever that I've spoken with, former head of sales at Grant Cardone. He's going to talk about what it's like to actually work for Grant Cardone, working in sales, and the 10x mentality for success. He's absolutely somebody that I would like to have in the trenches next to me. So I hope you enjoyed this interview as much as I enjoyed speaking with him. Our goal is 25,000 subscribers by the end of 2022. So subscribe now so you don't miss out on future episodes, and enjoy.
So no one thing can blow a deal means if you've got a real deal, if you've got a real decision maker, if you can solve a real problem, there's not one thing you're going to say or do that's going to be like, oh no, I don't want to do this anymore. Like if there's one thing that blows the deal, you didn't have a deal in the first place. So there was really nothing to lose.
Today we are joined by Morgan Walls, Director of Sales at Grant Cardone, Canada. Morgan, welcome.
Thank you, Trent. Appreciate having me on, brother.
We were just chatting before we went live, and you're in the office. The backdrop's amazing. I look forward to talking about the 10X rule today. But you said you go into the office every Saturday. What is that all about?
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, you know, there's times to be on the field and there's times to be over the chessboard. And I think that what happens a lot of the times right now with people is that they spend all their time on the field and they never stop to look like, where am I? How can I actually get ahead? How can I position myself to a better place? So like I've been working for Grant for 5 years, and Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 is not time to be sharpening the axe or cleaning your gun. That's time to be on the field. You're playing the game. So I still need time to be off the field. I still need time to sharpen the axe, to clean the gun, to scout out where I'm going to go. And that's been Saturday for me for the last 5 years. I come in, I do some work, I hit the phones a little bit, and then I'm planning, I'm figuring out, hey, where do I need to get to? Where do I need to be so that I have a target that I can hit?
I'm getting goosebumps listening to that. It fires me up because it's a commitment to self-development, and learning leads to productivity. So the work you put in on Saturdays in the shadows, it's what going to help you separate yourself and drive more business results Monday through Friday. I was just listening to another podcast of a guy who used to be a former trainer of Kobe Bryant, and he was saying, and they asked him, they said, what separates Kobe? And they said, he puts in the work in the shadows. When people are doing two-a-day workouts in the summer in the off season, he would wake up and start his days at 4 a.m. so that he could have his first workout done by the time people start their first workout. And it clearly shows in the results. Morgan, I was particularly excited about today's interview because I am a big fan of Grant Cardone. I've been following your work for a while, so you're embedded in the culture. You live it, you eat it, you breathe it. I ordered one of Grant's products online, a free real estate book, and I've been getting so many cold calls by the Grant Cardone team. It's not even funny. Well, on one of the calls, I told the guy, I said, look, I'm not buying today, but I want you to go subscribe to my channel because we got Morgan Walls coming on to an episode. So for those of you listening, make sure to subscribe now. How do you train your new reps to come in and say, look, we are going to be relentless on the phone? Because from the outside looking in, it seems like that's really what Grant talks a lot about, massive action, and what helps make you guys successful. So talk about that.
Yeah, well, when you say, I'll go into it. When you say relentless, tell me about what you mean by relentless. Do you mean in terms of general activity, or do you mean relentless on a particular lead or person?
Let me give you an example. So this morning, I've received 2 calls from Grant Cardone, Canada. He called me once. I didn't answer. He called me back 2 minutes later and leaves a voice message. And I couldn't help but respect it. I said, that on a Saturday, that's the grind. And to me, that tells me that even after I said, hey, I'm not going to buy, they're still coming back. And that's what I do as well. And I think that that's what great salespeople embody. Being told no, not accepting that as you totally don't want it. It's just, I'm not interested right now, but you're going to keep coming back.
Got it. Yeah, for sure. So, a couple of things, like there's principles that we share with people. And, one thing I've learned over the years, one thing Grant's taught us is that there's no tricks. Everyone's looking for tricks. Everyone's looking for shortcuts. And, if I do this, are they going to do that? And so on and so forth. Yeah, the trick is a full pipeline. That's the trick. The trick is massive action. But the also trick is like understanding the numbers and understanding the math. And I was literally, I've got our guys here right now. We do a meeting every Saturday at 8:30. And I was literally just talking about this like 5 minutes ago. Being a business person instead of a salesperson. And what I mean by that is knowing the numbers and knowing the metrics, knowing the stats. So I know that 80% of deals take somewhere between 5 and 12 contacts to take place. So based on that, I need to make at least 12 attempts to get 80% of the business that's out there. So if I get a lead that comes in and I'm only at 2 or 3 contacts, I'm not even eligible for them to buy. I also know that for our guys, on average, it takes 7.6 calls for somebody to even pick up the phone that I'm reaching out to. So if I'm less than 7.6, I'm not even eligible to talk to them in the first place. You see what I mean? I also know that today, like one principle that Grant has, and I hope your audience writes this down, is that money follows attention. I know that the average person today in one 24-hour period gets more data than a person the 15th century did in their entire lifetime. So it's 9:36 here in Vancouver right now on a Saturday. That'd be like if I received everything, every piece of data, video, audio in my entire life by like lunchtime again today. My brain would be screwed, right? So I know that that's the case. I know that it takes 42 touches online before someone purchases a product on e-commerce. So I just understand the math, right? So I tell people, I'm like, hey, dude, like you're not even eligible to talk to them until you've called them 7-8 times. Like you won't even reach them yet. So really just educating people on the reality of the situation. And this is what people don't want to confront is the volume of activity it takes to actually create an effect and break through the noise that is getting thicker every single day.
A few powerful ideas here that I want to unpack, and I absolutely love where this is going. The first point, money follows attention. Something I've learned from Grant is people don't always buy the best product in the market. They buy from who they know. And they can't possibly buy your product, service, good, or whatever you're selling if they don't know who you are. And it sounds like the perspective that you are helping coach reps on is you haven't even earned the right to deserve their attention if you haven't attempted to contact them at least 10 to 15 times. That's when at least you've been on the radar enough, they've seen your name enough, and they say, you know what, I'll at least hear this guy out and give him a chance. And I think what I've observed is a lot of reps struggle to grasp that concept of, I want to be successful, I want to hit my number, I want to hit my quota, I want to have money, promotions, all of this, but they fail to take the necessary levels of action. Why do you think that is?
Their goals are wrong. They don't have goals. They have no targets. They're looking for shortcuts, and they have no financial plan in place. They don't realize what's actually required to get to where they want to go. Say someone wants to make $100,000. I mean, I don't know. I live in Vancouver. You actually can't live on $100,000 here, but it's a good number to go through because it allows people to break into 6 figures and so forth. They're like, okay, I want to make $100,000. Good. So that's fine. Number one, well, why do you want to make $100,000? Number two, what's actually required to make $100,000? How many deals do you need? Number three, what do you get paid on every single deal? Number four, how many calls and presentations and demos and so forth do you even need to get there? Most people have not done the math to see what's actually required. And the difference between what's required and what they're doing is often so far that they think it's unattainable. So I think one of the big reasons is just like people just don't confront the math. They don't face like, dude, what's really required to get to where they want to go? And then they fail to set their targets high enough, as in their activity targets. And then when they fail to meet those targets, they're discouraged. Where Grant's going to say in the 10X rule, he's like, literally, dude, set your target and then assume it's going to take 10 times more than whatever you think to achieve it. And have that be the expectation. If that's the expectation, then you can move towards it and not be discouraged when you get punched in the face a couple of times.
That truly has been the biggest strategy that's so easy to do but so easy not to do is I start every morning just by writing down my target. I have closed $300,000 in Q2. I have promoted from account executive to enterprise rep. I have qualified for President's Club. And that's my target. And I feel like if my target is set appropriately, I may hit it 30 or 40% of the time. Most of the time I'm going to come short. But by setting that bigger target that way exceeds my quota, it actually has put me in a position to hit this number that's so much higher than my target, it reorients the necessary levels of action I need to take, which I think is so important. What does 10X mean to you?
10X is a multiplier for me. It is really what it is. It's a multiplier. It's not about addition or subtraction. It's a multiplier, and it's understanding what's required to really thrive. Like for me, it's what's required to really thrive in this game and business and this life. And what I mean by that is like, I'm in Canada, and December 2020, 82% of Canadians were within $200 of being insolvent, as in they couldn't pay their bills at the end of the month. That is what average gets you right now. I know that 76% of people live paycheck to paycheck. That is what average gets you right now. I know the average person has less than $1,000 in savings. That is what average gets you right now. You know, over half of marriages fail. That is what average gets you. 10X is about setting targets and taking the appropriate level of action to me that is so far and above that, you don't even know where to look. You mentioned about the word quota, and salespeople have quotas. They should have quotas. That's great. Who sets the quota? What is the quota based on? Is the quota based on potential or based on some number that some person made up so they could look good to their investors? 10X is about recognizing what the potential really is and then doing the math to get there. And like personally, I remember when I started working for Grant here in Canada in our office, the way we were structured, I had a desk fee. So I paid like $80 a month to show up because we were contractors at the time. We just started the business. My first 2 months, I actually owed the company money because I sold nothing. It was terrible. And I was working 80-hour weeks. And then I remember getting to $2,000 a month. And then I remember 10Xing that to get to $20,000 a month. And making $2,000 a month and $20,000 a month, I had to operate differently. And I had to think differently. I had to set my targets differently. So that's what 10X is to me. It's that multiplier of, hey, where could I go? What's really required to get there? And why do I even want to get there in the first place?
It sounds like once you get to the place of, I don't just want to be average, I don't want to live paycheck to paycheck, I want to get ahead financially, I need to find the right vehicle to do so. And so many salespeople listen to this podcast, and that's why I love sales, because I think you control your destiny. And to your point, we're not just working to reach $1 million a year because Jerry in the back room said $1 million a year is good because that's going to help us get to our multiplier on revenue, whatever it is. It's I'm working to reach my potential, not my quota, and that's something I try and live by. In the beginning, when you were losing money to do a challenging job, that I'm sure you believe that, hey, if I stick with this long enough, it's going to get me to where I want to go. In addition to writing down your targets every day, which I'm sure that's what you were doing to keep you focused and take action, how did you persist through those challenges of, I'm paying to just be at this desk and I'm not necessarily hitting the numbers I want to hit right now. So how did you stick through those hard times?
I might have hit a mental defect. To be honest. Something was wrong with me. No, man, honestly, like I saw the vision, and you know what I did is I cut everyone out of my life that was not in line with where I want to go. Everyone. There is 2 people I speak to from my hometown. That's it. I don't speak to a single person that I went to college with. I don't speak to a single person I went to university with. Like, I have 2 friends from basically before I started working with Grant Cardone that I still talk to. I cut fucking everyone out. And the reason I did that is that I could not afford to have sources of information or people in my environment that were contrary to where I was trying to go. So it's interesting is that a problem that a lot of people have is they set a goal, they set a target, they start going down this path, and they move forward, and everything's great. And then they go to talk to someone, and the person's like, oh, that's a bad idea. Sales is risky. It's not worth it. Go get an easier job. Oh, they don't pay you salary and blah, 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 blah. And they take their garbage bullshit. Excuse my French.
You can say whatever you want. You can say whatever you want.
Okay, good. So they take their fucking garbage bullshit, broke ideas, and inject that into your psyche. And then people are like, yeah, this is bullshit. I shouldn't have to work this hard. I should be getting a salary. We should have inbound leads. And then all of a sudden, people's heads gets messed up. So I recognize that could happen. So I cut everyone out. I didn't have any distractions. Like, if it's your only choice, if it's all you know, you're going to move forward on it. It's only when people start injecting all these ideas and bad data into the mix that people start getting confused. They start looking for greener pastures and whatnot. So the step 1 is I cut everyone out. Step 2 is I got connected with people that were wanting to do better than me. If you follow Grant, you probably know Steve Spray, I imagine, right?
I've heard the name.
Okay.
But I'm not too familiar with his content.
Guy's a stud. Love the dude. He's been working with Grant for, I think, 9 years now. And he's been their top guy there for a long time. Like, he's got over $1 million invested in Cardone Capital in cash. When he started working for Grant, he lived in the back of a furniture store. Like, unbelievable story. You should definitely reach out to him. But what happened is he was doing the things that I wanted. So I reached out to Steve. I was like, hey, I'm going to be your appointment setter. He was in Miami. I was in Vancouver. I'm going to set appointments for you, all the good ones. I'm going to give you half the commission. You just have to show up and close the deal. I will do the follow-up. I will do all the back-end work. I will do freaking everything. I just need you to show up and be superhuman. So I got rid of all the negative influences, and then I got connected to this guy that I was able to just kind of learn from and have to pay for it. And that gave me this vision that I could see that I could move towards. So those are really the two things that I did. And the last thing is I got rid of all the white space. I'd be at the office by 6:45 in the morning, grind all day. We're on the phones till 5. And then from 5 until 10 or 5 until 9:30, I would be doing courses. I would be studying on CARDONE University. I would be role playing. I'd be listening to calls. Like, I filled up all of the white space. Same thing on Saturdays. Same thing on Sunday. Like, Sunday wasn't a day of rest. Sunday, I'd be doing courses and studying by 9:30 in the morning. I'd do that until 6 o'clock at night. So I had no dead space because me and white space are just not good friends at all. We have a very abusive relationship, so I try and stay away from it.
I respect that because in today's day and age, it's so hard to do that. And I think that a lot of people respect that because there's these almost expectations in a way when you're running around with your friends and people say, hey, we're going to do this weekend, but it may distract you from where you're going to go. And to your point around the thinking, I find myself in the office sometimes and I know something Grant says that I really like is, what do people know you for? And the one controllable is, I want people to know me for the guy that's the most reliable person around and the person that's going to work the hardest, the person that's always there early and always there late. And they're thinking about leaving. They're like, this guy's still here. And when you do that long enough, people will start to say, man, don't work too hard. Man, you should get a break. And I'm thinking in my head, why are they trying to justify to me why I should work less hard? And to me, it's almost selfish of them to do that, but I have to remain focused on what I'm doing. And I followed a similar path. I was doing well in my career. I have my YouTube side thing trying to help salespeople. And I found myself doing a lot of destructive things on the weekends and not utilizing the time to further my goals. So what I did was I completely moved I live in downtown Dallas in Texas, and I moved North Dallas in a suburb, literally a minute from the office. And for 6 months, it was just head down, like really little to no social life. And at times it can be challenging to stay focused on that when you know other people are having fun. But I think that time has really helped me realize what I want and then just stay super focused on my goals. So I'd be curious to hear your viewpoint on this. I think a lot of people today, they complain about being burnt out. They're like, I want to work remote all the time. I never want to go in the office. Yeah. I want a 4-day work week, all this stuff. And I think a lot of it's entitlement and laziness and not wanting to put in the work. So how do you think, what is your relationship with burnout and staying focused on taking action?
You know, it's interesting. I look myself in the mirror every so often as I'm trying to put my face on, and I noticed that there's a lack of a wick coming out the top of my head.
You're not a candle, are you? Are you a kid?
I ain't a candle. Yeah,
I love that.
You know, when have I felt burnout? I felt burnout when I'm not on my purpose. I felt burnt out when I'm not working. So work. Okay, well, what does work mean? See, this is something that I learned from Grant that really changed my life a lot of it. Is most people don't even know what words even mean. You know, what does work mean? Work is not the time you spend in the office. Work is, like, literally the definition in the dictionary is activity with a purpose. It means I'm doing something. I'm getting a result. I'm moving something forward, right? So, like, I find for me, if I'm just, you know, and we've all done it, like, you show up to the office and you're just making calls to make calls, and there's no purpose, there's no intention. You're just in the office. You know, it's on a Saturday. You're like, I'm going to go work in the office all day, and you do freaking nothing. You worked all day. No, you didn't do anything. You just sat there and burned time. That is exhausting. That is so draining. It's unbelievable. So that's really my relationship with, like, burnout in work is just like, dude, I need a purpose. I need to accomplish something. When I'm accomplishing something, when I'm winning, I feel freaking great. Like, I spent 2 days. We did 100 people in the last 2 days of sales training, of role playing, of drilling. I got to go sit down with a CEO. They'll probably hit $1 billion in the next year in annual revenue, like big players. I feel great. I flew back to Vancouver. I got up early this morning. I was on a coaching call because I'm working out. I've got a purpose going, and I think that's what a lot of people miss. You also said something interesting about why would someone throw their ideas about you, like, oh, you're working too hard, Trent? Well, is it possible that you are showing that person that they could also be doing more. And instead of them taking responsibility for it, they're making you and what you're doing wrong so that they can be right. This is the pervasiveness of people's need to be right. Like, this is why Grant says always, always, always agree, because I want to take advantage of this principle. Most people need to be right. And if you're succeeding, and if maybe we're from the same class, we work at the same company, you're doing way better than I am, I have to make you wrong in order to justify my mediocre existence. I think that's why people do it. And that's why I had to make that cut. And you probably did too, to get rid of those people, because I'm like, I just don't need that shit in my environment.
And where you're going with this, it sounds like, is just taking complete accountability and responsibility for everything in your world. So whether things go well or poorly, it's hey, I control this. If I got in a car crash, what did I do to put myself in that position for that to happen? I'm taking responsibility for it, because everything's on me. And what I observe as well is a lot of reps, to your point, will say, oh, we're not getting enough inbound leads. Oh, it's my book of business isn't good enough, or Sally is just in the best region, whatever it may be. And I see it. I've seen it in my 4 years is people will leave the role because they'll try and say, hey, the conditions aren't right for me, and then I'm going to go take that other job that's going to pay me more, that's going to give me that next promotion without me actually earning it. And I think especially in the last 2 years with how the market was, there was so much money flowing, everything was going up, everyone was doing well. And I think we're now heading towards an environment where the market's going to start contracting, it's going to be harder to sell. And I think leadership is going to have more of a leeway to actually push back on people, because previously people, you don't want to push them too hard because they'll leave because it was such a robust job market. But now things are going to become harder for everyone. And I think a lot of people are going to have to look themselves in the mirror. So what are your thoughts on people that think that there's always greener grass opposed to just taking responsibility and going all in on where you're at today?
Dude, there is greener grass. There's all kinds of green grass. They're totally right. What they don't realize, though, is that someone's de-weeding it, someone's fertilizing it, someone's watering it every day. Someone's keeping all the rats and stuff off of it. Someone's keeping the hedgehogs off. Someone's keeping the dogs off the grass so they can't pee on it and burn the grass. Like, there's greener grass because people are working on it every day. And what they fail to realize is that if they own a backyard and it's all burnt, and they go to somewhere with green grass, their grass is going to get burnt because they're going to take their same non-committal self with them. Like Grant has this saying, he's like, wherever you go, there you are. Right? So yeah, there's greener grass because someone's taking care of it. So what people don't realize is like, dude, I want to get my lawn as green as I possibly could be. Like, I could have blown out of here so many times over the years, man. You have you probably know because you're a top producer, but like the amount of job offers that I've gotten over the years, hundreds of thousands of dollars, base salaries, shares, come be equity partners, and so on and so forth, and blah, blah, blah. Like it's unbelievable. I mean, it makes you feel good, but the problem is if I was to do that, what am I not doing here in my current opportunity, which truly is unlimited? And I'm going to take myself into that new place. Are there vehicles that are better than others? Sure. But have you maxed out where you are right now? That's what I would say to them. Have you maxed out where you are right now? Are you even the top person in your environment? If not, well, what are you doing instead? Like a graph wants to rise. This is what people don't realize. The graph wants to go up, right? It wants to grow. If it's not growing, there's something else being done instead. Like I can't just do nothing. I'm doing something. I'm either doing things that raise the graph or I'm doing things that lower it. So, dude, if you want your grass to be greener, okay, well, what are you doing that's contrary to that grass going up? And that's what people don't realize. And that's why I think most people think that grass is greener, because we get 24/7, 365. Dude, I go on LinkedIn, it's like, oh, do email marketing, and oh, cold calling is dead, and you should work from home, and your boss should give you 100 inbound leads a day, and if they don't, they're an asshole, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, no wonder people think the grass is greener. They get sold this every single day. And they're not being sold on? Accountability, responsibility. You're the person at cost. So I totally agree with you.
There's so much noise out there, and it's refreshing to me to hear from you of other people who are just obsessed with what they do, trying their best, and just like you said, the graph example, we're just trying to go up. And that's the purpose of what I'm trying to do here is I want to help other people reach that next level. So let's talk some tactics here. So you mentioned you were speaking in front of a group of 100 people. I'm not sure if that's reps or other folks looking to learn, advance themselves, and you're speaking with CEOs of billion-dollar balance sheets, which is amazing. What are some things that reps, or whether salespeople or just young professionals that are focused on getting better, what are some of those strategies that you're sharing in those meetings to either sell more, focus more, or just be a better person?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, where I start everyone is this guy right here, sell or be sold, where Grant's saying, hey, the first sale you got to make is the one to yourself. And most people fall down right there. Man, if I'm not sold that I'm the right person to do business with, if I'm not sold that I've got the best company in the world, if I'm not sold that we've got the best product and service on the planet, if I'm not sold that we can actually solve our clients' problems, I can't sell someone else. It is literally that black and white. So all the people that are whining and complaining about their product and their support team and their company, dude, all you're doing is unselling yourself and making it harder. Sales is about conviction. Like whoever is more convinced is going to convince the other person. So the first thing I talk about with them is like, let's take a step back and let's get freaking sold. Even if you're, I don't know if you have any managers or executives watching your podcast, but like, dude, you got to get sold on why is your company the best place to work to attract the great people that you want. So that would be step one. Step two is about pipeline. I can't sell if I don't have someone in front of me. I need a full room. I need a pipeline full of business so that I don't have to rely on one deal. Most people get to the end of the month, they get to the end of the quarter, and they're like, oh, damn, like I got Johnny. He's the only guy in my pipeline. Then they go to their manager, and he's like, dude, I need to give him 40% off. Target. And he goes to Johnny, and Johnny's like, yeah, I think we're good. And then he gets all desperate and weird, and that's why salespeople get commission breath. So once you get sold, it's like, dude, do I have a full pipeline? Do I have someone in front of me? Am I doing everything possible to get attention? Like as a salesperson, 80-90% of my job is prospecting, building that pipeline, getting attention, getting known, getting connections. Like the reason I hopped on your podcast is because I've heard of you. I've seen you because you're getting attention, right? So once I've got attention, now it's like, okay, well, and again, there's no tricks here, but it's like, what's actually important to the customer? One question that I ask every single client that I do a presentation for, and your audience can take this away, is, hey, why did you agree to meet with me at this time?
That's powerful.
It changes everything, because they might say, hey, we're just looking, we're in our information gathering stage. I asked this to a client not last week but the week before. I was like, dude, we've been calling you for 2 years. Why now? And what he told me, he said, hey, one of our partner companies have used you guys. They've crushed it. We want to figure out how we can implement the program in our business too. So I'm like, wow, this guy's not looking to be sold. He's looking to figure out how does he execute. They've already made the decision. So it completely shifts the sales dynamic if you find out, why are people even looking to do business with you? What have they done in the past that's worked or hasn't worked? I need to understand their existing and past situation if I'm going to recommend a solution for the future. What's failed? Well, that probably tells me the things they want to avoid. And then I can find out where they're trying to go, and I can help kind of bridge that gap between those two places. And then my presentation is just about bridging that gap. It's about the things that are important to them. And if I do that properly, the close is easy. I mean, Grant's obviously hardcore on the close, you know that. But I can't close someone on the wrong product for the right type of money. So those are some of the things that I help people understand.
What you just said right there, we refer to it as the compelling event, the why now. Why would you buy now? And the better you can understand that and just what is actually driving them intrinsically, is it so that they look good and get a promotion? Is their CEO told them, hey, we got to go figure this out, or your job's on the line, or hey, we need to go move this, we need to open this new office and get this many people hired, whatever it may be. Once you really understand that compelling event, why they want to buy, then you can start to really do deep discovery and, okay, what have you done in the past? Why is that not working? Okay, what would success look like? How can I align my solution to that outcome? And it's really sales 101, and it starts with the why now. And that's a great question. You can get on the phone and say, what prompted you to take our conversation here today? That's something I always start with as well. You talked about in a previous post that something you learned from Grant is that there's no one thing you can do to lose a deal. Can you talk about that concept and then strategies we can apply to win more deals?
Yeah, for sure. And that's an interesting one. A lot of people are selling scared. Like they're so afraid of losing a deal that they're not willing to ask the tough question. And really the cause of that is simple. It's an empty pipeline. They're afraid of losing that one deal. So no one thing can blow a deal means if you've got a real deal, if you've got a real decision maker, if you can solve a real problem, there's not one thing you're going to say or do that's going to be like, oh no, I don't want to do this anymore. Like if there's one thing that blows the deal, you didn't have a deal in the first place. So there was really nothing to lose, right? So it's about figuring out, hey, like what value you bring to someone, do they want to solve that problem? Once you know that, once you understand that, you can be so much more relaxed. You can be yourself, you can communicate to people and ask them really hard questions, and it's not going to blow the deal. For example, if I'm on a call with someone and I can tell that they don't believe what I'm saying, I know that without trust, there's no deal in the first place. It's just not going to happen. I know if they don't believe me, they're probably not going to take a look at my product. So I'll just straight up ask them. I'll be like, hey, Trent, let me ask you, man, how much of what I've said do you actually believe?
All of it. Send me the contract.
Yeah, exactly, right? A lot of time, dude, I believe none of it. I'm in communication for the first time with that person.
Yeah.
I haven't pushed them away. I've confronted the truth of the reality.
Level set with them and really looked for that red flag and humanized it and said, let's make sure we're on the same page here.
Exactly. So, but I wouldn't ask that question if I was afraid of blowing the deal, because they might say, yeah, dude, I don't believe anything you're saying. Well, most people would be like, oh, well, now I'm screwed. The other thing, like, for example, I know the number one objection we get, because, we sell a $40,000 to a $600,000 corporate training program. We can train people every single day on a phone, tablet, computer with Grant Cardone. Well, I know with that, the big concern people have is, well, will our guys use it? So I bring that up front. Hey, man, do you think your people would actually use the program? No, I don't. Now I'm in communication. Right? So that's what I mean by no one thing can blow a deal. It means there's no one question or one thing you're going to say or do that blows the deal if you have a real deal there. So those are some of the strategies that I would use is just asking. I would ask hard questions, like the questions that you want to ask that most people are afraid. Hey, why would you do this? Why wouldn't you do this? Who would kill my deal? Who else needs to see it to make a decision? Do you think your people would actually use it? Do you think that this would work? Do you actually believe in what I'm saying? Is the problem that you're looking to solve, is the cost of that problem bigger than the cost of the investment? Like hard questions that cut directly to the point. And when you ask these questions, your buyer is going to trust you more because they realize that you're not some other salesperson that's throwing ideas out there. You actually know your game and you're willing to confront the real issues. And your clients, they want partners. They want candor. They want honesty. They want straightforwardness, right? So when you do that kind of stuff, it demonstrates that you're not just another salesperson. Like you're running a business just like them, and you're looking to help solve a real problem, and you're willing to handle whatever ugliness is going to come up in the process.
One of the best strategies to build trust, and like you said, they probably won't buy from you if they don't trust you, is to make sure they have felt heard. So like what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to listen to what you're saying actively, repeat it back to you so that you can acknowledge, okay, he heard me. Then you feel special. And then you say, okay, we get each other. He gets me. And it's the same thing in sales. So when they say that, yeah, we've been doing it this way for a couple years. And to your point, you got to say, okay, so why is that not working? And is the implications of that problem big enough to justify the additional spend it's going to cost for my solution? And you deep down know the questions you need to ask, but it's uncomfortable. And a couple examples that I have is when I'm doing a discovery call or a demo with a customer, you always need to get that scheduled next call to continue the momentum in the deal cycle. If you don't have that next event, then it's a big red flag. And sometimes you'll say, well, let's continue the conversation next week to talk about X, Y, Z. And they'll say, let me go speak with my team internally, and I'll get back to you on that. And that's a moment where you got to say, well, hold on here. It sounds like this is what we're trying to accomplish. Do you not feel that this is worth your time to continue the conversation? Because I feel like a lot of reps waste their time on deals that aren't actually going anywhere. And another example of this is I'm working a $115,000 annual recurring license deal with a really big retailer. I was on the call with him after putting in a lot of work, and I point blank said, look, are we your vendor of choice? If you were to go back to your team right now, would we be your recommendation? And he didn't definitively say yes, no. And to me, that was a red flag. So we've got some more work to do. So that's really important. What I want to finish with, Morgan, is the attention thing. Since you've talked about that a lot, is money follows attention. And I think that this is equally important in your business for the product you're selling, but also from a personal branding standpoint of people knowing who you are in the marketplace for other job offers. And just so maybe you want to go do speaking or whatever. So that's something that you got on my radar years ago. I remember messaging you because I saw you in a video with a girl at an event. And I was like, this guy's just walking around I was like, this guy has it figured out. So how would you inspire someone to go out and start putting themselves out there online to garner attention?
Yeah, I mean, the word inspire is interesting because, I don't even know if inspiration is the way I would look at it. I would look at stop being selfish. If you have a good product that you believe in, this is why I said the first thing I talk with people is getting sold. If you know you can help people, you've got a duty and obligation to get attention and get out there. Stop being so freaking selfish. If they don't know you, they can't buy from you. It is impossible. There's just no way around that deal. Right? So, I don't want to toot my own horn. Well, why have a horn in the first place? It's so critical in today's world, and there's so much noise that if you're there, you're just going to be in non-existence. No one's going to even know you exist in the first place, which makes it impossible to hit your goals and targets. And I got to say, man, the benefits of getting attention, the coaching call that I did this morning with a client, he reached out to me on Instagram. We did 95% of the deal over Instagram. And it was, a $13,000 deal for this coaching, which is not a ton of money, but when you realize that it only takes an hour a month to do, plus the time to get ready, it's a pretty good ROI. That wouldn't have happened had I not been creating content. That wouldn't have happened had I not been, saying, hey, I can help people. Hey, here's what I do. Hey, here's some of the value. It's impossible. Only 11% of our business last year, for my office here in Canada, was inbound. 11%. So for anyone watching this, I want you to imagine only 11% of all the business you got was inbound. You had to find the other 89% cold calling. Well, if you want to keep that happy little comfortable place you have where people reach out to you, take responsibility and grab attention. I don't think it's a fluffy, I'm going to say one thing that inspires you. I'm going to say there is a cost to not getting attention. The cost is your future. The cost is, if you believe in your product, your clients can't be helped. The cost is deals take a lot longer to get. A real cold call typically takes a lot longer than if someone reaches out to you and says, hey, I've got a problem and I know that we have it. Right? So that's how I would approach it is dude, what is the cost of you not getting attention right now? Well, it's everything. And look at Grant Cardone. 10 years ago, no one knew he existed. Dude, even 5 years ago, outside the auto business, I'd call, sorry, who's Grant Cardone? Which to you and I is what? That's crazy. Guy's a billionaire today, did undercover billionaire, unbelievable wife, 2 unbelievable children. I've met them all. They're great people. 10 years ago, he went on YouTube and it was here's my first video, and no one watched it. But today he's a billionaire. Why? Because he's been able to get so much freaking attention. It's unbelievable. So that's what I'd say to anyone that wants to start is stop being selfish. Realize that without attention, you cannot grow. The game will be a lot harder. And our number one job is to figure out how to get more people in our pipeline that we can actually help.
That's amazing. Well, hey, Morgan, I really enjoyed our conversation today. Any calls to action for the audience? You want them to go connect with you on LinkedIn, Instagram? What how can they go support you?
Yeah, I mean, follow me on LinkedIn would be amazing. I'm trying to create more content for people to make it easier to win. And, I would say as a call to action, not even about me, but sit down and do the math on what's required to get to where you want to go. I think that most people honestly miss that very vital step. 98% of the people I spoke to yesterday hadn't done that. It's the first thing I talked about with the guy this morning is do the math on what's actually required and then multiply that by a factor of 10 and you'll have some idea on what the real estimation of efforts required. And to your point, because things are contracting, Bitcoin's down $1 billion%, the stock market off the side of a cliff, people are starting to cut, it's going to get hard again. And salespeople are going to be necessary. So when there's a greener pasture and someone's like, oh, quit, go somewhere else, it's no, dude, as a salesperson, you are the most valuable, most important person on this planet right now. Without you, nothing's going to move. So if you want to handle the economy and make sure that people don't live on the street, go sell something.
Man, I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. I'm going to link Morgan's LinkedIn down below. Go connect with him. Go support him. If you're still listening to us right now, make sure to subscribe however you may be watching, whatever platform. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.